US bombarded a Syria's airbase suspected of using chemical weapons. What is different about this strike? How did Syria's closet ally Russia respond? What are Tomahawk cruise missiles? What is Sarin, a chemical weapon suspected to be used in Syria? How did the war begin in Syria? Why has the war lasted so long? GS Paper 2, Effect of Policies and Politics of Developed and Developing Countries. What is the context about? The US military struck a Syrian airbase in response to a chemical weapons attack. 2 US Navy destroyers in the Mediterranean Sea fired 59 Tomahawk cruise missiles at Shayrat airfield in western Homs province. They targeted aircraft shelters, storage areas, ammunition supply bunkers and air defense systems at the Syrian government-controlled facility, according to the Pentagon. Note: recently more than 80 people have been killed in a suspected chemical attack on the rebel-held town in northwestern Syria. The Syrian military denied using any chemical agents, while its ally Russia said an airstrike hit a rebel depot full of chemical munitions. What is different about this strike? The US has led a coalition carrying out airstrikes against jihadist groups in Syria since 2014, but this is the first time it has targeted government forces. President Trump previously spoke out against US military involvement in Syria, instead calling for a greater focus on domestic interests. But now signaled a sudden shift in policy on Thursday, saying that Bashar al-Assad should have no role in a future Syria. How did Syria's closet ally Russia respond? Russian President Vladimir Putin regards the US attacks on Syria as an aggression against a sovereign state in violation of the norms of international law. Cooperation between the Russian and US militaries may be shut down after the US strike. Russia will demand an urgent UN Security Council meeting after the US airstrike, calling it an act of aggression against a UN member. What are Tomahawk cruise missiles? Tomahawks are a key weapon in the US military and are highly accurate. The intermediate-range cruise missiles have a range of about 800 miles to 1,500 miles, and are equipped with a 1,000-pound conventional warhead. They are fired from sea and travel relatively low to the ground to avoid radar detection. Guided by an advanced navigation system, they can be steered to their targets from afar. The missiles were first used with great effect against Iraqi despot Saddam Hussein in the 1990 Operation Desert Storm mission. They have been in operation ever since. Britain, a trusted ally of the US, has been allowed to buy Tomahawks. Give a brief note on role of Russia in Syria. Russia is Syria's most powerful ally and has provided the military might behind President Bashar al-Assad's grip on the country. Russia has significant economic and military interests in the country, such as a Mediterranean naval base at Tartus, that it is determined to keep. Throughout the years, it has staunchly shielded Syria from UN resolutions in the UN Security Council. More broadly, some analysts see Putin using Syria as an opportunity to send a message that it's a force to be reckoned with, one that the US and its allies can't ignore. What is Sarin, a chemical weapon suspected to be used in Syria? Sarin is highly toxic and considered 20 times as deadly as cyanide. As with all nerve agents, Sarin inhibits the action of the acetylcholinesterase enzyme, which deactivates signals that cause human nerve cells to fire. This blockage pushes nerves into a continual on state. The heart and other muscles, including those involved in breathing, spasm. Sufficient exposure can lead to death via asphyxiation within minutes. Sarin is almost impossible to detect because it is a clear, colorless and tasteless liquid that has no odor in its purest form. It can also evaporate and spread through the air. How did the war begin? Long before the conflict began, many Syrians complained about high unemployment, widespread corruption, a lack of political freedom and state repression under President Bashar al-Assad, who succeeded his father, Hafiz, in 2000. In March 2011, pro-democracy demonstrations inspired by the Arab Spring erupted in the southern city of Deraa. The government's use of deadly force to crush the dissent soon triggered nationwide protests demanding the president's resignation. Opposition supporters began to take up arms, first to defend themselves and later to expel security forces from their local areas. Why has the war lasted so long? A key factor has been the intervention of regional and world powers, including Iran, Russia, Saudi Arabia and the United States. Their military, financial and political support for the government and opposition has contributed directly to the intensification and continuation of the fighting, and turned Syria into a proxy battleground. External powers have also been accused of fostering sectarianism in what was a broadly secular state, pitching the country's Sunni majority against the president's Shia Alawite sect. The U.S., which says President Assad is responsible for widespread atrocities, has provided only limited military assistance to moderate rebel groups, fearful that advanced weapons might end up in the hands of jihadists.